Hello everyone, I'm Devid kubuan. Today I will presenting about critical discourse analysis. So let's start. First of all, this is the introduction. What is critical discourse analysis is? Critical discourse analysis is discourse analytical research that primarily studies the ways social power abuse and inequality are enacted, reproduced, legitimated, and resisted by the text and talk in the social and political context. As an analytical practice, critical research analysis is not one direction of research among many others in the study of discourse. Rather, it is a critical perspective that may be found in all areas of research studies, such as discourse grammar, conversation analysis, discourse analysis, pragmatism, rhetoric, stylistic, narrative analysis, argumentation analysis, multimodal discourse analysis, and social semiotics. Sociolinguistic and ethnography of communication or the psychology of discourse processing, among others. In other words, CDA is discourse study with an attitude. Next, critical research on discourse has the following general properties among others. First, it focuses primarily on social problems and political issues rather than the mere study of discourse structure outside their social and political context. The second is this critical analysis of social problem is usually multidisciplinary. Next, the number three is rather early describe discourse structures. It tries to explain them in terms of properties of social interaction and especially social structure. The last is more specifically CDA or critical analysis focuses on the ways these structures enact, confirm, legitimate, reproduce, or challenge relations of power abuse, dominance in society. Fairlock and Woodcock 1997 summarized the main tenets of CDA as follows. First, CDA addresses social problems. So it's just focused on social problems. The second is power relations are discursive. The third is discourse constitutes society and culture. And the last is discourse does ideological work. First, the conceptual and theoretical frameworks. This section focused on a number of basic concepts of tools, devices, and triangulated theoretical framework that relates discourse, cognition, and society, including history, political, and cultures, as the major dimension of CDA and discourse studies more generally. Language use. This is the part. First is macro versus micro. Language use, discourse, verbal interaction, and communication belong to the micro level of the social order. Power, dominance, and inequality between social groups are typically terms that belong to a macro level of analysis. This means that CDA must bridge the well-known gap between micro, which is agency and interactional, and macro, structural, institutional, organization approaches like Alexander All 1987, Haber 1981, and etc. There are several ways to analyze and bridge the societal macro and micro gap, and thus to arrive at unified critical analysis. The first is member groups. The second is action process. The third is context, social structure. Then the last is the personal and social cognition. The second is the power as control. Different types of power may be distinguished according to the various resources employed to exercise, such as power, the coercive power of the military and other violent people will rather be based on force. The rich will have power because of their money. The more or less persuasive power of parents, professors, or journalists may be based on knowledge, information, and authority. The control of text and context of resource. We have seen that among many other resources that define the power base of a group or institution, access to or control over public resource and communication is an important, like symbolic resource, and this is also the case for knowledge and information. Next is mind control. The analysis of mind control presupposes the useful distinction between personal or autobiographical memory on the one hand and generic social shared semantic memory on the other. The source of domination. The power of dominant group shows not only in the control of the discourse of others, but also in their own discourse. That is, social power may also be locally enacted by the very properties of discourse. Member of powerful groups, see also Braddock and Street, 1989. Yeah, this is the research in critical research analysis used. So yeah, the gender inequality, ethnocentrism, antisemitism, nationalism, and racism, and also media discourse, political discourse, and professional and institutional power. Okay, this is the conclusion. We can conclude that. First, the cognitive interface between the source structures and structure of the local and global social context is seldom made explicit and usually appears only in terms of the notion of knowledge and ideology funding. Thus, despite a large number of empirical studies on resource and power, the details of the multidisciplinary theory of CDA that should relate resource and action to cognition and society are still on. The second is there is still a gap between more linguistically oriented studies of the text and talk and the various social and political approaches that first often ignore concepts and theories in sociology and political science on power abuse and inequality, whereas the second seldom engage in detailed resource analysis. The third is there are still large areas of critical research that remain virtually unexplored, such as the study of dominant or resistant social class discourse and of many other discourse genders. Yeah, guys, I think that's all for today. Thank you. And if you have any question, just ask me when class. Thank you so much.